You're trying to control your emotions, and it's costing you way more than you think. Literally, not just mentally, physically, because every emotion you try to control gets trapped in your body. Suppressed anger settles into your muscles. Hidden sadness weighs down your chest. Ignored fear hits your stomach. You're doing a mental maneuver to avoid feeling the emotion, but your body doesn't stop carrying it. And over time, without even noticing, you know what happens? Chronic tension, insomnia, digestive issues, headaches that won't go away, unexplained fatigue. All of it is suppressed emotions, energy that's been controlled but never left the body. Now I'm going to tell you a truth most people don't want to hear. Trying to control your emotions is way more painful than actually feeling them, because control takes effort, constant resistance, constant fighting. But feeling, that's just allowing. And when you allow, the emotion comes, peaks, and passes. When you don't interfere, it's always been this way. Stop and think. Where did you learn to control your emotions? Childhood. Someone told you, don't cry. Someone said, don't get angry. Someone said, don't be scared. And you learned this. Feeling emotions is wrong. Showing emotions is weakness. Suppressing emotions is strength. But is that really true? No, because that's not how nature works. And you're part of nature. Look at an animal, your dog or your cat. Something terrible happens. The animal gets scared, trembles, and then it's over. The animal returns to normal because the animal didn't try to control the emotion. It lived it and it passed. You have the same mechanism, but you were taught to manage the emotion, not live it. And now you know what happened? The thing you think you're managing is actually managing you. While anger builds up inside, you try to appear calm. While you're drowning in sadness, you try to appear strong. While fear is in every cell, you try to appear brave, trying to appear. That's exactly the problem, because trying to appear is not being, it's hiding. Now let me explain how the emotional control game actually works. An emotion comes, let's say anger, rising in your chest, your body preparing to react. And what do? You say, no, I shouldn't get angry. You know what happens in that moment? The anger doesn't actually stop. You're just creating resistance against it. Now the anger is dealing with two things at once. First, it wants to be expressed. Second, your resistance is blocking it. And you know what happens in that resistance? Energy gets stuck. Muscles tense up. Jaw locks. Shoulders rise. Breath gets shallow. While you think you're controlling the anger, you're actually trapping it in your body. And while what you've trapped builds up inside, you know what happens when the next anger comes. The two angers merge. The explosion gets bigger. That's why some people have huge reactions to small things. Because that small thing isn't the cause. It's just the trigger. The real explosion is years of suppressed, controlled emotions. So what's the solution? Let your emotions completely loose? Break things every time you feel something? No, that's also control. Just in the opposite direction. The solution is different and very simple, but the ego doesn't like it because the ego controls, manages, interferes. The solution is this: witnessing the emotion without controlling it. What does that mean? Witnessing means without naming the emotion, without defining it, without trying to change it, just noticing it. There's a tightness in my chest. That's it. Don't call the tightness anxiety, because the moment you name it, you've moved it to your mind, and the story begins. Why am I anxious? When will this anxiety end? How do I get rid of this anxiety? See, the moment you name it, the control game started. But if you just feel, there's tightness in my chest, I'm witnessing it. Here, now, and when you witness, something happens. The emotion intensifies, peaks, and starts to dissolve. Because emotion is just energy, and energy stays in motion. When it doesn't meet resistance, it passes. I want you to write just one word in the comments. Where do you feel the most dominant sensation in your body right now? Look, witnessing isn't passive. Witnessing is being able to stay there without trying to control. Because controlling is familiar. Suppressing is learned. Ignoring is automatic. The ego knows these very well. But witnessing is daring to let go of control. Because witnessing means stepping out of the emotion's way. How many years have you been trying to silence what you feel? Trying to ignore it, suppress it, control it? And where has this escape gotten you? Are you more at peace? Or are you just enduring more? Because what you run from doesn't let you go. What you suppress grows inside. What you try to control eventually controls you. Let's do a quick experiment now. What's happening in your body right now? Don't name it. Don't interpret it. Just feel it. Where in your body? In your chest? In your throat? In your stomach? Or somewhere else? Put your attention on that area. Witness it without running away. Don't try to change it. Don't try to solve it. Stay there and notice. Is it changing, intensifying, starting to dissolve? Whatever's happening, witness without interfering. This witnessing isn't control. This is awareness itself. And in awareness, emotion is set free. Because awareness isn't resistance. It's the space of acceptance. Now I'm going to ask a question. It might touch a place you've been avoiding. Who's really trying to control your emotions? Think. There's anger, and someone says, I shouldn't get angry. Where's that voice coming from? There's sadness, and someone says, I shouldn't be sad. Who's that voice? Is that voice you? Or is it a learned voice? Because if you were the anger, you couldn't control it. You would be it. But you're observing the anger. You're noticing the anger. You're trying to control the anger. So you're not the anger. You're the thing experiencing the anger. And this difference ends the control game. Because if you're not the anger, anger can't do anything to you. Anger is just a passing phenomenon. If you're not the sadness, sadness doesn't define you. Sadness is just a passing wave. If you're not the fear, fear can't trap you. Fear is just an energy movement, but the ego doesn't like this. The ego immediately claims ownership. I am angry. The ego says I am anxious. The ego says I am depressed. See the difference? The ego identifies with emotions, says I am angry, meaning I equals anger. But awareness says anger is present. I does not equal anger. I'm just aware of the anger. And this small language shift changes the power balance inside. When you say anger is present, instead of I am angry, the identification breaks. Now you're not the anxiety. Anxiety is something that's not you. And you don't need to control something that's not yours. Maybe you're saying, but some emotions are too strong. Witnessing isn't enough. Let's pause here. I get it. Traumatic emotions, deep wounds, chronic anxiety. These aren't light things. But understand this. Control doesn't work in this situation either. In fact, it makes it worse. Because when you put strong resistance against a strong emotion, you're creating a war zone inside. And there's no peace in an internal war. But if you allow the strong emotion without resisting, that emotion finds space to pass. Don't misunderstand me. Allowing isn't letting the emotion take control. Allowing is letting the emotion exist. Recognizing it, not rejecting it. Yes, there's very strong anger right now. Here, now, and I'm feeling this. You know what this sentence does? It ends the internal war. Because now you're not against the anger. You're not fighting the anger. You're not trying to eliminate the anger. You're just recognizing it. And this recognition is the only condition needed for the emotion to pass. Now stop. Really think about what I've explained so far and ask yourself, am I living by fighting my emotions or by witnessing them? If your answer is by controlling, ask the next question. What has this gotten me? Am I really more at peace? Am I really more free? If the answer is no, maybe it's time to change something. But there's a difference here. Changing isn't control. Changing is opening space for something else. Choosing to witness instead of control. Opening space for acceptance instead of resistance. Allowing feeling instead of suppressing. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to write it in the comments. Which feels harder to you? Controlling your emotions or being face to face with them? Some of you will say controlling is harder because it takes constant effort. Some of you will say witnessing is harder because it requires confronting. Both are true. Both are hard. But one depletes you. The other liberates you. Comment. Read what others wrote. Maybe you'll see something you hadn't thought of. Now, theory's over. Let's look at real life. What happens in practice? You wake up in the morning. There's anxiety. What will you do? Old way. I need to eliminate this anxiety. Let me take a deep breath. Let me think positive. And what happens? The anxiety didn't go away. In fact, maybe it deepened because now there's anxiety. Plus the anxiety of not being able to eliminate the anxiety. New way. There's anxiety. Where do I feel it? In my chest. How do I feel it? Tightness, pressure. Okay, I'm witnessing it. And what happens? At first, nothing. The anxiety is still there. But you're not fighting, you're just witnessing. And over time, you notice something. Anxiety comes in waves, rising, peaking, falling. When you don't interfere, this natural rhythm continues. Because you're no longer in the wave, you're on the shore. Why? Because there's no resistance. And when there's no resistance, energy doesn't get stuck. It flows. Another example, someone said something. Anger came. Old way. I shouldn't get angry. I need to calm down. It's pointless to be mad at this person. What happens? The anger gets suppressed. There's a smile on your face, a fire inside, and that fire keeps burning inside. Maybe for hours, maybe for days. Maybe it explodes the next time you talk to that person. New way. There's anger. Where in my body? In the jaw, shoulders, chest. A hot energy, rising. I'm witnessing it. And what happens? The anger wants to be expressed. But you can do this in a controlled way because you didn't suppress the anger. You recognized it. And you can work with what you recognize. Maybe you calmly tell that person what you just said bothered me. Maybe you don't say anything in that moment, but the anger circulates through your body and exits because you're not resisting it. See the difference? Control locks the emotion inside. Witnessing opens the emotion's path. Control accumulates energy. Witnessing releases energy. Control exhausts. Witnessing rests, but witnessing isn't easy. Because you've learned to control for years. Control is memorized. Witnessing is entering the unknown. That's why witnessing must be learned, practiced. It requires patience. Now let me show you how to do this in the body. It's called body scan. How to do it? When an emotion comes, stop, close your eyes, and scan your body from head to toe. Slowly, pay attention to each area. Forehead, tense, jaw, locked, neck, stiff, shoulders, elevated, chest, tight, stomach, tense, legs, heavy, and find where you feel the emotion. When you find it, stay there. Don't name it. Just feel it. Is it hot or cold, heavy or light, moving or still? And witness. Is it changing, spreading, intensifying, dissolving? Just witness. Don't interfere. And notice, after 2 to 3 minutes, the emotion takes on a different form. Maybe it lightened, maybe it intensified then lightened, maybe it moved to another area, but it definitely changed. Because emotion isn't static. Emotion is flow. Maybe you're saying, I tried it, it didn't work. Okay, why didn't it work? Because you were probably in expectation. You were witnessing wanting the emotion to leave. But that expectation is also control, a quieter, sneakier control. Real witnessing is this: witnessing without expecting an outcome, not witnessing for the emotion to leave, witnessing to recognize the emotion. And this difference is critical, because if you witness wanting it to leave, there's resistance. If you witness to recognize, there's acceptance. Because emotion dissolves in acceptance, it gets stuck in resistance. Let me tell you a counterintuitive truth. The more you try to control your emotions, you're not getting further from them. you're getting more buried in them. How? Because what you're trying to control, you've already connected with. You fight with it, and fighting doesn't create distance. But what you witness is separate from you. You're not in it, you're across from it. You're the observer, and this observer position is where you can breathe for the first time. Because the observer isn't affected. The observer just sees. If you're observing anger, anger can't take over because you're outside the anger. If you're observing sadness, sadness doesn't define you because you're beyond the sadness. And you know who this observer is? Awareness. Always there, always calm, always unchanged. Emotions come and go, but awareness remains. And when you notice the awareness, emotions stop being a problem. They just become something passing through. There's a very important point here. Awareness isn't ignoring emotions. There's a common mistake here. I'm aware, so emotions are unimportant. No, wrong. Emotions are important because they carry data. They're signals. But you're not the emotion. You're the thing receiving the emotion. Big difference. If the emotion is important, you need to listen to it, but you don't need to identify with it. For example, there's fear. What's fear saying? There's danger. Pay attention. I heard you. Fear. Got your message. I'll pay attention. But I'm not saying I am fear. I'm saying fear is present, and I'm hearing it. This difference is the shift from control to freedom. I want you to share a small experience. In the last week, what emotion did you try to control? And how did that make you feel? Write in the comments. It can even be one word: anger, exhaustion, anxiety, depletion, sadness, suffocation. Read what others wrote. Maybe you'll find common ground with yourself. Maybe you'll see you're not alone. Let's go to a deeper layer. Why do you want to control? Because you're afraid your emotions will make you look weak. Because you're afraid your emotions will make you lose control. Because you're afraid your emotions will bother others. But where do these fears come from? Society, family, culture. You were taught. Men don't cry. Angry women become ugly. Scared people are weak. And you internalize these rules. Now they seem like your rules, but they're not yours. They're borrowed. And now you're suppressing your own authenticity for borrowed rules. Is it worth it? Let's look from another angle. Underneath control, there's usually just one thing: distrust. Distrust of what? You want to control the emotion because you think, if I don't control it, bad things will happen. But is that true? No, because emotions are natural processes. They come on their own, they pass on their own. When you don't interfere, they pass faster. But when you interfere, the process breaks down. Just like building a dam where a river flows. The water doesn't stop. It accumulates, and then it explodes. But if you let the water flow, it flows and reaches the sea. Emotions are the same. If you don't block them, they flow. If you block them, they accumulate. Maybe you're saying, but some emotions are dangerous, like anger. If I don't control it, I might cause harm. I get it. But there's a confusion here. Feeling anger isn't acting on anger. You can feel anger and still stay calm. How do you know? Because you're no longer the anger. Anger says attack. You say, I heard you, but no. See, you're not suppressing the anger, but you're also not following its orders. You're recognizing the anger and making a conscious choice. This isn't control. This is aware action. Let me show you the difference between control and aware action. Control. There's anger, but I shouldn't show it. I'm suppressing it. I'm smiling. Result. Anger inside. You're something else outside. Your inside and outside are inconsistent. Tension rising. Aware action. There's anger. I'm feeling it. Rising in my chest. I'm witnessing it. Now what will I do? I'll speak calmly. Result. Anger recognized. Your whole, your inside and outside are aligned. No tension. See the difference? In one you're split. In the other you're whole. In one you're at war. In the other you're at peace. Another thing. Control is attachment to the past. How? Because when you control your emotions, You're using rules you learned in the past. Don't show anger. Don't cry. Don't be scared. These rules don't belong to now. They belong to the past. But now is different. The current emotion, the current situation, and you're trying to control now with the past's rules. This doesn't work because the past isn't the same as now, but awareness is now. Awareness looks at what's here right now, not the past rules. At this point, you might feel some resistance because letting go of control is scary. If I let go of control, what happens? Will there be chaos? Will I do anything? No, because letting go of control isn't letting go of awareness. Actually, the opposite. When you let go of control, awareness increases because energy isn't going to control anymore. Energy is going to awareness. And if there's awareness, there's consciousness. If there's consciousness, there's choice. So letting go of control isn't falling apart. It's touching yourself for the first time. Now let's simplify this. Witnessing your emotions isn't a complex technique. It doesn't require long rituals, special environments, hours of practice, a few minutes a day. Just stopping, just looking at the body, just witnessing what is. And don't let this simplicity fool you, because what's simple is usually what's most powerful. When you do this every day, you'll notice this. Emotions aren't as sticky as they used to be. Tension dissolves faster. The mind fights less. The body relaxes quicker. But most importantly, this happens. Your emotions no longer control you. You don't fight them. You don't suppress them. You open space for them. And everything that's given space eventually moves on. Yes, this path isn't easy because control is familiar. Control feels safe. Control gives you the feeling of being strong. But real power isn't there. Real power is not running from feeling. Real power is being able to move through the emotion. Real power is seeing you can still stand without suppressing it. And if you've made it this far, you have the capacity to do this because someone who wasn't ready wouldn't have listened this far. Let's be clear. When you start witnessing your emotions, you don't lose something. You gain something. You gain freedom. You gain inner space. You gain the power of choice. Now your anger doesn't drag you. Anxiety doesn't define you. Sadness doesn't swallow you. They all come. They all pass. And you remain in the middle, calm, aware, whole. The video ends here, but the real thing starts now. When an emotion comes, just remember this. Don't control. Don't try to fix it. Don't run. Witness. And with each witnessing, you'll notice you get a little lighter. Now I'm leaving you with one last question. Write your answer in the comments as just one letter. A, I'll keep controlling. B, I'll try witnessing. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. Just your honest answer right now. And sometimes a path only opens when you decide to try.